This is Garrett Fry, the 3D digital map painting sequence lead for the cemetery sequence, and we're taking a look at shot 1928. So let's go ahead and play that. So in this shot, we have this kind of shaky handheld camera move that's going through the cemetery environment. We have a really strong element here of this road and this beautiful dappled light that's coming through here. So what we're going to want to do for this shot is add in more gravestones. That's the direction that we've been given. And the prime area that we have is right here on the left side of frame. But as you can see, this area right here is just in full shadow. And so the things that you need to add should not be in full shadow. They should have some dappled light quality to them, because how could you put something there and have this beautiful lighting without doing dappled light? So you have to put in some dappled light, and in order to do that, you're going to have to add dappled light onto the ground in a convincing way, so that it feels like the things that the gravestones that you're adding are realistic. And so you can start out with some larger gravestones here. You can put a kind of a more hero gravestone somewhere in this area, and then have smaller gravestones that are overlapping with each other going back into space. You also have this area here. If you look at that, there's just really kind of like a big open space right there, and a nice opportunity to have like some rimlet, maybe one of the angels or a sculpture or an obelisk, something that's a bit taller that can receive some of that light. You can also put a gravestone right here. And so there's a lot of opportunity to put a bunch of different stuff into this area. You want to make sure that you're really helping the composition. The composition on this is already really great, so you're going to be enhancing the composition and creating a focus for the shot, because right now we are moving through this and we see this kind of like wide angle of the cemetery, but it doesn't really have a focus to the shot. And so that's what you would be adding in this area over here on this left side. Like the camera is moving through, and the reason the camera is moving through this area is in order to look at this gravestone. So you're adding a little bit of purpose to this shot, enhancing the camera move by the elements that you're adding in here on this shot. Everything here is going to need to be put into 3D space, so you're going to need to project onto 3D geometry. As to how much of that 3D geometry you really need, you're going to have to do some tests. So stuff back here can just be cards, pretty easy, just cards back here. When you get into this area and then into this area, you're going to see a lot more parallax. And so do some tests, figure out where your projection cameras are to minimize the number of projection cameras. You don't want to have like a ton of them. You could have one and then have a patch camera. If you want to put that at the head of the shot, your main projection camera, or at the end of the shot is up to you, and where you put your patch camera, or if you cut them up so that you put some gravestones from one camera and you put some from another camera. It all depends on the shot and minimizing the work that you have to do. So there's a lot of strategizing that you have to do with a shot like this in order to have some really nice parallax, but really minimize the amount of work that you have to do. Before starting out on the shot, it's really important to familiarize yourself with the extensive photo reference in the library. It is worthwhile to do quick matte painting concepts so you can start to understand what kind of photography works for what particular situation. Also, make sure you're utilizing the asset library, especially for those shots that require continuity between environments. These assets can be a huge help, and remember that every asset has high resolution photography, so if the asset is not high enough resolution when rendered, you can overlay it with photography.